Hey, this is Misery Loves Company, a weekly social reading series hosted by miserytourism.com. Every Friday, we welcome outsider and transgressive writers to come and share their work with us. And this Friday is like any other, so let's get rolling here. Michael's up first.
Cool. Yeah, let me just share this thing. People should be able to see that link, hopefully. Cool. All right, this is called Third Date. A fever torched the city, a heat, an angry heat, the kind of heat you could taste. Its thirst drove everybody outside, like the young woman and the young man who day drank across the street from a Brooklyn subway station. The concrete sidewalk was uneven, and they planted their feet to stop the chairs from tipping. The young woman was telling the young man about a bridge jumper in Chinatown. She spoke quickly, and the young man struggled to keep up. But he was interested and imagined the scene she described. A few dozen people gawked from the sidewalk before the bridge. They gripped their phones horizontally and took photos, whispered and imagined. A group of men turned their backs and adjusted their chairs as they played dominoes at a small metal table. A yellow truck sold empanadas at the end of the block. Several police officers stood behind the chain link highway wall, and the young woman watched their lips move. The jumper's face was corkscrewed, and he yelled something after something, but the young woman couldn't make out his words. She wondered if the bridge jumper was talking to the people on the street. She wondered if that mattered until she grew too uncomfortable with the spectacle and wandered away. But after circling a few adjacent blocks, she wandered back. The bridge jumper was gone, and she watched the last ambulance hook the turn right toward the highway. On the ride home, she tried to find articles or tweets about the bridge jumper, but there was nothing. Like it had just dissolved, she was saying. Him, the whole thing. Was he a real bridge jumper, though? What do you mean? Like, if you don't know for sure if he jumped, I don't know if you can call him a bridge jumper if you don't know he jumped. That's fair. Yeah, and it's like the young man trailed off and fingered the condensation on the side of his half-full glass of beer. He'd ordered another round as she told the story about the bridge jumper, interrupting her only to ask if she wanted another. She did, and when the new beers arrived, he quickly drank some of it down. The young woman's new beer remained untouched. It's like what? She asked. Like, what do you think he wanted? Attention? Maybe. The young woman's chair scraped the concrete as she shifted its position. This place makes you feel so invisible, she said. Yeah, the huge crowds. Not only that, but like, let's say you're in a place with hundreds of thousands of people. How many people in that area are almost exactly the same as you? How? Like physically? Maybe, could be. Or they want the same things you want. Talk about shit like you do.
Michael!
Feel the same feelings. Like when you see a stranger who looks almost exactly like a friend of yours. That ever happened to you? The young woman smiled. A few times, yeah, she said. It's always so crazy. Like you want to just go up and say your friend's name. Or some weird nickname that makes no sense. The young woman laughed, and then they both were laughing. They briefly forgot about the uneven pavement as they laughed, and when they did, their chairs lurched and threatened to tip them over. They caught themselves and took big sips from their beers. It's crazy hot out, the young man said. Seriously, fuck this shit. Fuck it. The young man tipped his glass toward the young woman's glass, and they clinked. The city is crazy too, he continued. People are wilding out, partying. I don't think it's that simple. What do you mean? Like, I think people are tired of holding back. From what? Just like what they want to do or say. The gloves are off. Yeah. It's like I said, partying. Like I saw these people smoking weed on the train
Party,
earlier.
Michael?
Some little dirty roach or some shit. Hell, they were spitting on the ground as they did it. That's fucking gross. Yeah. I guess what I mean is like whatever they did before, all this, maybe they're just sort of done with it. Done with what they used to do, who they used to be. Oh, like a job thing? Sure. Did you do that? Yeah. No, I mean, during everything I was laid off, so I sort of didn't have a choice. And you do something different now? Kind of. That marketing thing I told you about. Oh, yeah. The money's good? It's okay. Hey, I mean, the young man sipped his beer. Could have been worse, he continued. Yeah. Quiet blanketed the young woman and the young man. After a minute, the young man, who thought the young woman was very attractive, stoked the embers of the conversation and talked about a video he'd seen online. When he asked if she'd seen it, she said it sounded familiar, and the young man laughed as he remembered the video again. For a while, they talked about the funny things they'd seen online. The young woman thought about bringing up what bothered her, the dizziness, the pain, the court ruling. But the young man looked happy and was making her laugh. As they talked, the sun sank behind the buildings and the weather cooled. The chairs and tables around them filled as the bar grew busier. Street vendors collected their wares and folded their gray plastic tables. Dented vans carried their things away. The food trucks extended their awnings and clicked on their lights. Birds pecked at the remains of lunch. As the station's tide swelled, the square remained busy. Each bench seat or standing place filled again when someone else departed. After another round of beer and then another, they agreed to leave, laugh muttering about the work that awaited them the next day. The young woman and the young man paid their bill, crossed the street, and descended the steps to the train. The platform was packed, and they searched for a spot near the far end where it was less crowded. The unspoken plan was to travel back into Manhattan before separating at the great throbbing underground heart that awaited in Midtown across the river. The date was ending, and to the young woman and the young man, it felt like a fine ending. They both tried to think of simple things to say, to extend the conversation a little bit further, to see if it might survive past their third date. The train arrived, and they crowded into the last subway car. Pressed against the rear door of the car, the young woman realized it was loose, broken, free to slide open. Her eyes darted to the young man as the train began to move. A wild idea flickered through her, then set her mind ablaze. "Hey," she said. "What's up?" the young man asked. "What's the craziest thing you've ever done?" "Like, ever?" "Yeah, I went skydiving once, right after college." "How was it?" "Incredible, like..." The young man paused, and the young woman watched him imagine the endless stretch of blue before him. "It's hard to explain if you haven't done it. Sort of like, holy shit, this could kill you." "That, absolutely." This this door behind me is unlocked." "Oh shit. We could ride the back of the train." "You serious?" "Yes." The young man's eyes flicked at the people around them, all gorging from their phones. No other voices amid the din and the rattle of the train's run. "Okay." The young woman and the young man together tugged the door open. The roar of the tunnel flooded the car, but no one turned to look. Beyond the door on the right was a vertical steel handrail. The young woman grasped the bar and eased herself onto the tiny metal ledge. She looked down, and the rush of the tracks reminded her of gnashing teeth. Then she remembered what she was doing and, gripping the handrail, made enough room so the young man could stand beside her. The train shook and jostled. The rear door howled as it slammed shut, and the young woman felt gravity claw at her body and gripped the handrail with both hands and didn't let go. The young man tugged at the latch, but the door wouldn't give. The train rounded a turn, and its brakes screeched, and the young woman shouted, "Holy shit!" And the young man shouted, "Holy fuck!" And they couldn't hear each other, their hearts a thumping invasion, an explosion of terror and pleasure and immortality. They pressed together, inward, into the door cavity as close as they could. Faces, bare skin, sweat glued together against the metal and glass. At last, the train slowed and entered the light and warmth of the next station. The subway doors rattled open and the crowd recycled in the rhythm of city travel. Smiles crept like vines up the faces of the young man and the young woman. They adjusted their weight so their footing was stronger. Any idea of knocking on the window or begging for re-entry remained unspoken. "Do you know which station is next?" the young man asked, their faces an inch apart. The young woman tasted his breath of beer and salt. "No idea," she said. And that's it.
Holy shit. Michael, man, I love the psychological arc of this story. I'm actually like in awe of the psychological arc of this story. Like, this is such a great existential piece. I love how it opens with the jumper, and they're trying to figure out like what motivated the jumper and the rationale of the jumper, and like the banality also surrounding that scene of the jumper, right, where everyone's just kind of going about their day-to-day business. And even after like a man has killed himself in front of them, presumably, like like the banality just kind of takes hold, and then the date kind of grinds forward in this very, like, once again banal but like sort of fulfilling way. And then that final moment, right? Like the decision to ride the back of the train. And you, at no point do you sit the reader down and say, this is why they decided to do this absolutely insane thing. But you feel like the psychological evolution of this piece, and you understand fully, like, exactly how, like, the seeing the jumper inspired like her decision to do something really, like, do something so like insane to feel alive, you know. Oh man, I love, like, just the subtle psychological complexity of this story. It's a really good one, Michael. It's really fucking good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I was so I guess for like the background context, if anyone is interested, I got off a train the other day and I saw two people riding in the back, and it was like it looked like a young couple. So I was just kind of
Really?
wondering, like,
Holy
yeah,
shit.
I'd never seen that before. They were like in the last car, standing outside the door. So just kind of wondering, like, how they wound up there. And then
Holy shit.
that bridge jumper thing also happened this weekend. Like I was in Chinatown with a friend, and yeah, like we didn't stick around to see what happened, but figured,
Right.
you know, if I'm gonna write one thing down that actually happened, maybe I'll put the other one in. So, but no, I really appreciate your thoughts, and
Yeah.
thanks for the opportunity to read it.
Yeah, no, and I mean that's kind of the like wonderful thing about literature. Yes, Mr. Bones. No, that's really sort of like the mark of like a really good piece of like creative nonfiction or whatever, if you want to call it that, is finding that linkage, like seeing things that happen in your life and then teasing out what binds them together, you know. And I think you really succeeded in this piece at doing that, at like taking those two maybe apparently disparate events that you encountered and like weaving them together into a cohesive piece that really feels like psychologically whole, I think.
Cool, thank you, appreciate that.
Yeah. Oh, thank you,
Yeah,
Michael.
this really captures, I think, something like my brother had mentioned this to me, and I don't live in New York City, but he mentioned that basically I have like post-COVID things are really like crazy in a muted fucking way, like just, you know, like dissociative crazy, like everybody is just kind of checking out of everything and just kind of becoming, and he talks about this all the time. I don't know, like, you know, like I said, I don't live there, but like this really gets at that, like this kind of dissociative resignation, like just total like total like people just going batshit amazing. It's just an amazing story, and the place where the woman screams "holy shit" and the man screams "holy fuck." That was a nice turn of phrase there. I really like that.
Yeah, hi, this is Blick, and I just want to say, Michael, I put a comment in there. I said that you're about how smooth and hypnotic the reading was. Aside from the great content, your reading of it was just it's so artful. I mean, I don't, the way you shift in between characters and then do the narration, it just was it was just beautiful on that aesthetic, you know, just on the performance aesthetic that attention should be paid, you know.
Michael is so good at reading. One time, like, he's always interrupted and it never phases him. He is such a smooth performer. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, he's remarkable at that. And I will say that troll was a slippery fuck. It took me 3 goes to get him because every time he would just do something quick and then he'd mute his mic and change his name so it was exactly the same as someone else. And he was picking people who had their cameras muted, so I couldn't go and look at the thing. It was very, very crafty
Tricksy.
troll. But he flew too close to the sun when he decided to screen share because that left him unmuted for too long. Anyway, Michael, thank you so much. That was a great piece.
Thanks, folks.
And Keith is up next.
Okay, thanks, William. So until today, I'd not planned on reading tonight, but in light of an event today, I decided that I needed to share a couple of short writings. To make sure that I say exactly what I need to say, I've written out a brief introduction to these pieces. I wrote the first piece back in early May. It's a piece that months ago I could not have even written. I really could not have even imagined it. I guess that there are some experiences that we have to live to be able to write about them. That piece is titled Sanctuary. I wrote the second piece back in mid-March. It's a story about friendship. It's titled Finding One's Way. Thanks, William, and thanks, Rudy, for giving all of us the opportunity to share our writings. And thanks, everyone, for listening. Friday Night Misery Loves Company is truly a healthy, positive thing that makes us all feel good. Thank you so very much. Sanctuary. His sanctuary has become a prison. His place of peace has become hell. He has never been happier. He sits at his writing desk. He surveys around his cell. His second desk, action items tray overflowing. His bookcase, two 20-inch stacks of books to be read. His guest chair, an open book on the seat. His recliner, a Skillcraft pen and notebook resting on the arm. His floor on the left side of his desk, 4 separate stacks of stories to be filed. His floor on the right side of his desk, a Converse shoebox filled with his poetry, 2 3-ring notebooks of his writings on top of the box. His file cabinet beside his desk. Sitting on top, a rack of LPs with Meatloaf's Bat Out of Hell leading the way. His computer screen on his desk. Tabs and tabs across the top with truncated names of stories and poems. His phone is on his desk. He picks it up. He sees the results of the query he ran earlier. University of Florida English Department, Creative Writing Program. He reads the introduction and laughs. It's way too late for that. He remembers a time not long ago when his sanctuary was in perfect order. He was not as happy then as he is now. He thinks that he may be Jack Nicholson. He has the urge to type red rum. He may be transforming into a different person. He looks out his window. All of the Florida snow has melted. He hears footsteps coming down the hallway. He must be dreaming or writing. The second piece is titled Finding One's Way. His friend is not lost, only temporarily displaced. Lost sounds so fatalistic, so hopeless. Temporarily displaced sounds positive, hopeful. His friend will find his way. He is optimistic that he will. On the Friday night of Christmas Eve, he decided that he would read his friend's essay. It was an emotional reading. He only made it about 1/4 of the way through it. He had to keep stopping and reflecting on his friend's words and to take some notes and write. One section was so shocking and sad that he could feel his eyes watering up. He remembered a time when he could have written that section word for word. He is thankful that he is still here today to be writing this story. And he is very thankful that he found his friend and his friend's works. Over the last year and a half, he has had many private communications with his friend. It is very likely that no one knows of their relationship. He knows that his friend interacts with many people. He is that type of individual. He is a really good person. He is glad that he found him. The poet laureate Bob Dylan wrote, "The times they are changing." Yes, Bob, they are. They have been, and they will continue to be. And by this point in life, some of us realize that the only constant is change. We take off our mask, expose ourselves to the world, and we change. Isn't that how life has always been? His friend needs some space, some time, some change. At times, we all do. We struggle to make sense of life. Many times we don't know where we're headed, or we're doubtful that we're going in the right direction. Is that anything new? He doesn't think so. One day we're laughing and sharing, and the next day we're lying on our bed, dying from our decisions. Some things we like to think that we can control, and other things we know that we can't. Is this why we change? Why we sometimes feel that we are always in a state of flux? He writes to learn about himself, to think about things that he never thought about, that maybe he suppressed because he couldn't face up to his thoughts. Didn't he do that when he was a little boy, burying his head under the covers to hide from his fears and thoughts? Did he ever really grow up? Does anyone ever really grow up? Christmas Eve has changed through the years. He has changed through the years. His family and friends have changed through the years. Everyone changes. Sometimes we have to change to survive, he thinks. He needs space. He needs time. Everyone does. We all want to find our way. We all want to come out on the other side. He would like to always believe that. He always has hope. His friend will be just fine. He knows that. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Keith. Both of those pieces were extremely powerful, and thank you for wearing your heart on your sleeve with that last piece. And I wanted to say something about two small things I want to point out about that last piece. One, the use of the phrase poet laureate Bob Dylan is so good.
Yes.
So good. I mean, I'm never going to get over the fact that Dylan won the Nobel Prize, and he deserved it. I will go to my grave saying that he deserved it more than a lot of the people who have. But the use of that turn of phrase there in that piece was just marvelous. And also the dying from our decisions moment. Oh my God, that is just such an effective way to put it, right? Because no matter when we're on our deathbed, no matter what our deathbed looks like, we're going to have the perception that we're dying of our decisions, right? That it's been a series of choices that have led us to that moment. And you so rarely see death framed that way, Anyway, Keith, thank you. Those
Thank you.
very powerful
Appreciate it.
pieces. And I appreciate you reading them today.
Thanks.
Keith,
Lena.
like your first piece made me tear up a little. It was great. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Thank you.
Blick is up next.
Yeah, hi. You know what? I think I'd rather listen and read tonight.
Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. We've got plenty of time if you'd like to read. But yeah, I can move the two pieces you want to read to next week if you'd like.
Okay.
I can read them for you.
Oh,
you like-
yeah. All right. If you want to read them for me, that'd be great.
I mean, I don't have your voice, but Yeah.
This, okay, but one of the voices is, one is in an Anaphracris collaboration with Unity. Well, Miss Unity, that's how it was published under. That's a poem. And the other, you reading the other would be a trip. Okay.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, if you read it, that yeah.
Which
Eric,
one? The synchronized chaos or the other one?
I just put them both in the chat. You can choose if you can read the first
Screaming
one.
Mime.
Okay.
Yeah, read Screaming Mind. That'd be great. Thank you.
I should speak. Am I angry? What is my mood?
Whatever you feel.
I feel like it just, yeah, okay. I should speak out when they abuse this pasty-faced artist who decided to choose being trapped in silence with makeup. Queer, I may not speak, but I can hear the taunts, the insults, and the hate towards street performers who refuse the bait of ridiculed anger through vulgar gestures, believing performance is a continuing semester of learning to grow within painted smile. Ignore the assholes, concentrate on the child who laughs with joy or open-mouthed wonder, yet tosses no coins as my stomach thunders. Breaking the silence, begging for bread, my intestinal rumblings plead to be fed. A steady diet of human compassion through the clinking of coins in an appreciative reaction. To my ancient art and enduring hunger, selling myself like a common whoremonger. I love that. Fuck yeah. Hoping to satisfy an insatiable crowd in tight-fitting spandex, a seductive shroud. Ignoring my lewd sneers at my exposed anatomy that I've twisted and stretched in hopes it would flatter me, as my muscles contort and my body sings a silent song that once entertained kings. I need to redo that last one. Ignoring lewd sneers on my exposed anatomy that I've twisted and stretched in hopes it would flatter me as my muscles contort and my body sings a silent song that once entertained kings. Wow, I can't wait to hear someone else read that. That was amazing.
Oh, you got to see, but the thing is, you got to see what inspired that was Unity did a diptych called Headshots. He created this character. He created this character that I guess it's supposed to be a Lincoln, and I just loved it. And I loved it. It made me laugh a week straight. My girlfriend thought I was fucking nuts, and I wanted to do a homage to it. So I dashed out this weird piece about a guy who's got a rash on his ass, and I knew it sucked. And I said
Awesome.
yeah, but I knew it sucked, and I sent it to Unity. I said, "This sucks, right?" And he basically said, "Yeah." So I wait another couple of weeks until I did this. But I guess there's no way you could put Unity's image up there. It's in the link there. I mean, they publish
Oh
it.
yeah, it's if anyone who clicks the link will see.
Right.
It's
You
at the
got to
top.
see. You have to
Yeah.
see. You have to see Miss Unity's one who created Miss Unity's headshots. It's
Yeah.
absolutely great. And you did a great reading, Eris. Thank you. That was fabulous. Thank you so much.
Can I read a Bronx Fall? Because I have relatives in
Do
not
it,
Bronx,
do
but
it.
Bronxville.
Yeah, that'd be great. Wow, what a treat. Thank you so much. It's a holiday and I'm getting the gifts. Wonderful.
I'm happy. Oh. It's been nearly 60 years, but I'll never forget my 9th birthday. It fell on a pleasant early autumn Sunday. Unlike previous years, there was no party or exuberant family celebration. In fact, my 9th birthday promised to be a rather bleak one. Okay, so my father's terminal bout with cancer had reduced him to a stick figure who spent all his time laying on the couch. His illness made a mockery out of the area of our 5th floor Bronx apartment that we called the living room, as I, my mother, and 3 sisters sliced into a hurriedly prepared birthday cake. My father's loud gasps for each breath in the living room adjacent to the kitchen festivities were a reminder of all that was wrong with the season. And what a season it had been. Our Belmont Avenue apartment was within walking distance of Yankee Stadium, where Mantle and Maris, is that how you say it? Mantle and Maris? The M&M boys had once again led their team to another pennant, just 2 days after my October 1st birthday. on October 9th. The New York Yankees were scheduled to meet the Cincinnati Reds in the World Series. The Yankees' march towards the American League pennant included a major league record for most home runs by a ball club, but it was hard for me to follow all the excitement that had lit up the Bronx during the 1961 baseball season due to close on my ninth birthday. Due to close on my ninth birthday. Mantle and Maris and Mantle, those were the buzzwords that defined that summer. Wait, you would say more like Mantle and Maris and Mantle, those were the buzzwords that defined that summer. After eating cake and opening a few presents, I lifted up the kitchen window and pressed my face against the rusty grill, where I scouted a peculiar sight 5 stories below. Strangely enough, none of the bigger kids, the guys in junior high, were playing stickball in the street. There was always a Sunday afternoon stickball game played on the Belmont Avenue street in front of my building, yet on this beautiful Sunday afternoon, the street was deserted. I immediately called my best friend, Ralph Guerra. How do you say that?
Guerra means war in Spanish.
Right. My best friend's last name is Guerrera. It's a warrior. A recent refugee from Castro's Cuba and was able to corral a half a dozen guys for a stickball game. I brought the spanking new pink Spalding ball that my twin sister Kathy had given me as a birthday gift, while another friend, Victor Elias, brought his impressive looking stickball bat, a former mop stick that was handsomely wrapped with electrical tape at the handle to offer up a superior grip. We grade school kids charged into the street and quickly took up our positions. Every moment was filled with apprehension and fear that the bigger, meaner kids would suddenly appear and implement their ritual threat to shove our stickball bat up where the sun don't shine if we did not immediately vacate their street. Because the ball belonged to me, I declared myself the pitcher. Stickball pitchers did not require any special skills to play that position. A strong, accurate arm was unimportant when you had to have the ball reach home plate on a bounce. The most dangerous positions were catcher and batter because they were the only players in the street whose backs were to the traffic. Oh. Their safety, indeed, their very lives, was often dependent on the pitcher and infielders signaling at them to move away from fast approaching cars, trucks, and the occasional motorcycle. Sunday afternoon traffic was always light on Belmont Avenue, and that was why it was such an unusual gift to have the field free on my birthday. I was not a very good ball player. Small for my age, I loved to play, but was never invited to join in with the older kids who dominated the street, unlike some of my bigger and stronger 4th grade friends. Shut out of neighborhood games, I lacked the repetitive competitive exposure every athlete needs in order to improve their performance. And so when my turn came to hit, I struck out. On Ralphie's first at bat, he blasted a home run that flew past 2 sewer covers and came to a rolling stop just short of Tremont Avenue. On my second trip to the plate, I truly became one with the powerhouse Yankees playing their final regular season game just blocks away. I want to set the record straight. That day, a third M was added to those Bronx M&M boys of Fall 61. Maris, Mantle, and Mark. I don't remember much about the pitch I hit, but I do remember that I did not get a solid whack at that bouncing Spalding. It's Spalding, right? Like not Spald. Okay. Fearing that I would once again strike out, I choked up on the decorative mop stick and stuck the bat out without really swinging it, not unlike a bunting motion, to increase my chances of making contact. I was barely able to get a piece of the ball to tap the end of the stick. As the ball dribbled weakly towards the first baseman, I threw down the bat and sprinted toward the green 57 Chevy that had been designated as first base. And that's when I heard it. The roar of many voices from the many heads that had popped out from the many tenement windows, showering down encouragement to me, an insecure 9-year-old hustling to leg out a lazy ground ball into a base hit. I had never performed in front of an audience before, and I'll never forget the adrenaline rush that accompanied my race to that parked car. And as I ran, I was amazed that my feeble grounder could inspire such an outpouring of excitement and emotion. I sped down the street determined to reach base safely, all the while wondering how many of my neighbors knew that it was my birthday, and if they were cheering so loudly for me so that my withering father sprawled out on the living couch could hear him, could hear him. With my outstretched hands groping for that green Chevy, I made it to first base without even the attempt of a tag. Hector, my first baseman, must have been distracted by the shouting tenement bases because he bobbled my easy grounder. I saw the ball roll to his right as I crashed triumphantly into the car. I closed my eyes. I closed my eyes and hugged the Chevy for what must have been a few seconds, although it felt like minutes. And with a huge grin, losing myself in the praise showering down on me, I forgot all about my dying father and crying mother and disappointing birthday celebration. I was a Bronx baseball hero just like Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris. When I opened my eyes, I saw Hector, Victor, Ralphie, and the other guys jumping up and down, slapping each other on the back and screaming out, "He did it! He did it! Maris hit 61!" The joy and warmth I felt from my neighbors immediately vanished as I realized that their excited shouts weren't for me, but the shattering of Babe Ruth's major league home run record just 18 blocks away by one of the M&M boys. I lowered my head. What was I thinking? Surprised and humiliated, I was grateful no one else on the block had any inkling of my foolish fantasy. Whenever I heard the name Roger Maris mentioned in later years, it usually made me anxious, and I would immediately resurrect the embarrassment I felt on that Sunday, October afternoon. But as I watched Mark McGwire break Roger Maris's home run record on September 8th, 1998, and saw Sammy Sosa hug him, I remembered the precious few seconds of glory 37 years earlier, when I became one with the M&M boys and heard those autumn cheers that made me feel proud and strong and gave me a respite from the rapidly approaching Bronx winter that would leave my heart as empty as my living couch. Oh, all right. Before that really hit home for
Let me
me
just say,
because
you read that beautifully. That was, you did, thank you. That was such a beautiful reading. I've
You
never
did,
heard
Eric.
that read before. I've never read it before. I've never heard it read before. What? I mean, I think those devil horns helped, you know?
thank you.
Yeah, the visual was really helped. Thank you so much.
This was such a great piece, and like it hits home for me too, because like when I was 9, one of my parents had terminal cancer, and like
Wow.
I would have loved to go out and play sports, but I think I just stayed inside and read. But this was beautiful. This really captures like, you know, the things you do to not think about that. Like I was totally in that whole other world.
Wow. I'm
What a
sorry.
fantastic job.
I'm sorry you experienced that, but I'm sure it's a big
It's okay. I
reason
wouldn't
why.
want my
No,
mom
but
to read my writing anyway.
yeah, but I think it's also, it's probably one of the reasons why you became an artist.
Absolutely. I don't want to
Absolutely.
be
Yes.
forgotten.
Yes.
Are you really on October 1st birthday?
Yeah. Yeah. So you're a Libra.
But Grapes is October 2nd.
Who is?
Grapes, Michelle.
I am October 13th.
Oh, what is
Ooh.
Libra?
Wow,
Right.
lots of October birthdays.
A lot of Libras here.
On October 9th. Anyway, but yeah, this was phenomenal. Oh my gosh, I want to play baseball now. But in the street where it's 100 degrees. I'm gonna shut up. That was amazing.
Eris, you did an incredible job reading both of those pieces. Thank you. I do want to talk about them just really quickly. I think what Eris said was very concise and very correct, you know, and that she did a better job, especially like with capturing that what made the Bronx Fall piece so good, like better than I could. But I do want to talk about the mime piece, because first of all, like I love Unity's photograph here, the character's name, Todd Matthews. I love Unity's Todd Matthews character, and I love these pictures. But I love what you've done here, Blake, with the mime thing, because like you take the fact that mimes are like this object of like universal derision, and you write this really funny but also really effective like homage to the mime, right? Like defense of the mime.
Well,
And
okay.
final fucking line, a silent song that once entertained kings, does such a great job of like spinning what prior to that had been a really silly comic poem on its head and giving it like that extra level of pathos and significance. And I really dug that. Sorry,
Well, William, No, I was gonna say that I like to give a little background. Like I love what Michael said about his piece. The background about this was I was at the Met, and I was with some people. I was pretty loaded, and I don't remember too much. I remember I got just bored, and I left. I left for greener pastures, and as I was coming down the steps, there was a mime performing outside the library. I mean, the museum. Anybody was had a semicircle around the mime, and I was on the stairs looking it over, and they were ripping him a new one. They were ripping his ass off. They were like screaming everything. So I just sat on the stairs, and it was almost like tribal. I didn't say I would never shout anything, but I was laughing at the comments that they were making, and they were brutal. I felt sorry for this I felt sorry for this kid. So after I walked, and I didn't think about, I didn't feel sorry for him, but I walked a couple of blocks, and I went to the subway, and all of a sudden I said, "What the fuck kind of an asshole was I? Why was I laughing at this guy?" So I had all this guilt. So I had all this fucking guilt, just the fact that I got into that crowd mentality.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
laughing. So I carried that. I carried that for many years. So Unity's great headshots. The title of the diptych that he did, headshots. It was just it was able to it triggered that.
Yeah, it all came together, and I think it all
Yeah.
came together beautifully. And I do the Bronx Fall, piece. Eris really, I think, summed that up well. But man, it's such a beautiful piece because there's so much like emotional nuance and complexity there, right? Every time you think it settles into a certain emotional tone, whether it's like a somber one or a joyful one, it immediately undercuts it in a really interesting way that doesn't like make it feel like just like fractured, but instead like just you keep adding layers of emotional complexity and emotional depth, and at the end you're left with this really bittersweet feeling that it's gorgeous. It's gorgeously written, Blick, and you can feel the real human emotion there. You can feel that like even after all of these years, like that moment is still so like eternally etched in your memory. It's powerful.
I would just like to give. Can you hear me? Am I unmuted?
Oh,
We can
yeah,
hear
you're
you.
muted.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to anybody who's interested in Eris. You sound like it'd be anybody who's interested in baseball and literature. That it's called Twin Bill. They're a wonderful. I know Forrest is going to write something for them because I was telling about that. But so I would check them out because they really do good shit there. It's a really an interesting confluence of literary and anything that has to do with ball. All right.
Yeah, I'll look
Right
into
on.
it. Thank you so much, Blick.
What is it called again?
It's called Twin Bill,
Oh,
and I
that
think
does
it's
not even seem hard to
I-
type. I'm sorry.
yeah, and I think it's if you posted them, I wasn't looking, but I guess if you posted it,
Yeah, I
link is
did.
there. So yeah.
Yeah, the
So
link,
just
it's
check
a
'em
little
out.
up in the chat now, but link's there.
Yeah, so check them out. They're good.
All right. Thank you, Blick. And John's up next.
Hey guys.
Hey, John, how's it going?
Good. So, I know I usually read like sillier things in here, but I've been gone for a month and a lot of things have happened this month, and
Oh my gosh, where were you?
away, somewhere else. But a lot of serious things have happened this month, and then in light of like today, the news, it's like it's been a very somber day. So I don't really want to read like a sillier piece. I want to be like more serious. And I know like, nothing I'm going to say is like everything's been said before, and I'm kind of just shouting into the void with this one, but I wanted to give it a try, and I know, this doesn't really matter, but I thought I'd read something more serious, more close to the heart. So this one's called How We Act Today Will Determine the Future of Tomorrow. Joe Biden is known as much for his technical brilliance as he is for his just leadership of the Americans. In addition to being elected high tinker, the most prominent rank in American society, Joe Biden proved himself to be an inventor without equal by leading the construction of the crime bill. Yet all of the high tinker's achievements have been overshadowed by one catastrophic event that occurred under his rule, the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Around the time of the war in Ukraine, an ancient menace known as the Republicans surfaced in America from the depths of Azeroth, the barbaric race. Thought to have been unintentionally released during the Trump excavation, crushed the Joe Biden's defenses and became entrenched in Washington, D.C. Joe Biden, for all his genius, was at a loss for a way to eradicate the savage invaders until his chief advisor, the Supreme Court, proposed that they inundate the Washington, D.C. with toxic radiation. Confident in the Supreme Court's radical plan, Joe Biden gave the order to irradiate the Republicans. This bold move worked at first. Toxic radiation spread through the Washington, D.C. and momentarily stopped the Republicans' incursion. Soon, however, it was evident that the radiation was killing the Americans as well as the Republicans. In the end, nearly 80% of the American race died, and many of those who survived were mutated into deranged leper Republicans. To add to the tragedy, the Republicans then resumed their assault on the city. Joe Biden and the healthy survivors evacuated the Washington, D.C. and were taken in by the Americans of neighboring Virginia. But the Supreme Court disappeared. The high tinker Joe Biden later learned troubling news that his former advisor had seized control of the toxic American city and instated itself as the twisted overlord. Much to Joe Biden's shock, he also discovered that the Supreme Court had secretly overturned Roe v. Wade and might have been previously aware or even complicit in the Republican invasion. The immense loss of life at Washington, D.C. weighed heavy on Joe Biden's shoulders. And in his fury, he ordered the death of the Supreme Court. A band of heroes, Nancy Pelosi, Kamala Harris, and AOC, took up the mission and returned with a tale of victory. But after analyzing the claim, Joe Biden realized that the mechanized overlord defeated in the depths of the city was likely nothing more than a cleverly engineered facsimile of the Supreme Court. Aware that defeating his nemesis would require a more robust approach, Joe Biden labored over strategies to take back his country. His tireless brainstorming recently paid off with the formulation of Operation Vote Harder, a brilliant multi-phase assault plan devised to liberate the American capital and bring the real Supreme Court to justice. With the operation set to begin, resourceful Americans such as Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton, and Captain Tread Sparknozzle have been overseeing preparations and fine-tuning the new technology that will be vital to the offensive. Meanwhile, Joe Biden has begun rounding up all able-bodied voters to join the attack, and his call to arms is about $15. The voters' tech savvy has been vital on past Twitter conflicts, and many American heroes are likely to join the offensive to recapture the Washington, D.C. For Joe Biden, however, his plan goes beyond reacquiring the Washington, D.C. The codifying of Roe v. Wade will determine his legacy in history, either as the high tinker who lost the Americans' beloved rights, or the one who reestablished it as the core of all fundamental American values. Good sir or madam, as a proud member of the Democratic Alliance, duty compels you to journey to the polls and submit yourself to the will of high tinker Joe Biden, King of Americans. The end of our exile draws nigh. Operation Vote Harder is about to begin. So I don't know what good it's going to do, but I just thought I don't know. I just wanted to say it. Thank you.
What's
You always
good-
make a difference.
Yeah.
John, thank you. Oh God. So John, I had, as you know, I'm recovering from a cold, and some phlegm had settled in my lungs. And thank you, because you got all of it out just now. John, oh my God. No, I should not be laughing.
No, this is serious, bro.
John, thank you. I mean, I feel like so few of us would have had the courage.
I mean, John's fearless after that allergy that I won't name. because I don't want to endanger his life.
To take on a topical issue with that kind of uncompromising fear. Fearless, I can't. Man, John, you slew me, man. Operation Vote Harder. That
But
It's what we got to do.
that was the perfect downbeat. That was the perfect downbeat.
I just wanted to be real for a minute. I'm sorry to bring the vibes down or whatever, but I think it needed to be said.
Vibe's not
Okay.
down. That was cathartic, man. That was fucking great. It's like singing in a choir. You know what I mean?
Hey, what we need is people like John who are willing to speak the truth and speak truth to power and power to truth also. And also just speak, just speak now, as Taylor Swift said.
Oh my gosh. I love you for that. John, I think the only way you can make up for that, I just want more Michigan facts.
There's a lot of Michigan facts that you guys don't know. You know what we call pop in Michigan? I mean soda in Michigan.
God damn it, you fucked it up.
Is it called pop? Pop? Is it called pop?
No, we call them bubblers.
Anyway, thank you, John. That was incredible. Thank you so much, man.
All right. Thank you.
Rudy's
John's
up
very
next.
tall in real life.
That's true. I am tall.
Rudy is up next. And Rudy's the last one on the list, but it's only 9 o'clock, so we have plenty of time. So if anyone has a piece that they'd like to read, just say something in the chat while Rudy's reading, and we definitely have time for a little open mic here. Anyway, Rudy, the floor is yours.
Cool. So I'm gonna read from Pale Manipulator Music again. This is basically a bunch of stories about child soldiers in some hypothetical future or alternate reality or something, and basically they hack into some necromancer's Spotify premium account and receive a curse that makes their lives like the songs on her playlist. So yeah, I'm going to read the one first. I'm going to read Young Forever. It's, if you go to the site, like they have these little buttons or whatever, and you can click on them. It brings them up. All of these are inspired by real songs. This one here, called Young Forever, is inspired by Def Cab for Cutie, Kids Back in '99, I think the song is called. All right, so September 14th. At this moment, I am not having fun. That is because this office is no place for violence or fun, not ever. These words are not mine, but those of the UNICEF woman who has crawled into my head to inspect its contents. I am engaged in music therapy because I am very foolish. It was my loose mouth that let slip the facts about us stealing the big one's Spotify premium account. It is my feeling that we will now receive second punishments. The first and greatest punishment has been a process called demobilization, during which we have been made to remain without rifles in this hostile pastel and gray terrain. We must remain here and sit without truth or viable intelligence about the next objective. To limit a cavalry's maneuvering is to limit its usefulness. Idle cavalry are dead. My musician for the day is performing on a ukulele. It is a small guitar made smaller by the bloated woman playing it. But her chords have the sound, but her chords are not those that play in my mind, something she must recognize since she is in my head loitering and reconnoitering. My memories have the sound of 762 being shot into persons, the striking of the body, the inside ballet of the tumbling round, which is a finicky dance partner to bones, muscles, and soft tissue. I imagine those kids in the 99th, the first regiment to lay down arms to blue hats. The big ones sent spies after them, and our troops brought a great many back from the brink of motionless boredom. The rest were at the camp when we set fire to the grasses and this fire leaped up like this, until it was hanging off of everything there, making them colder, but also warmer. And the virtuoso is telling me not to move, but the fire in my head is making me, and now her as well. My memories have the sound of crackling, and former cavalry instruments squeaking useless in a field, hollowed out, sitting like parked cars in a riot while the fire eats even bones. Greedy fire. The chords repeat endlessly. I am repeating myself. I am not having fun. The musician snatches me into a bear hug, and we are dance tumbling down some stairs. Her grasp is motherly, suffocating. I lay prone on the landing. I sink into the ground and eventually skeletonize, demoted to infantry. The second one I'm going to read is called Mixed Up Women. And this one I dedicate to Garth Miro. I think Garth is here somewhere. I wrote this today, this afternoon. The song it's based on is called Sheena is a Goth Now, or I think that's what it's called. It's by the band called, and I just forgot the band. But basically it's this awesome punk band. Let me scroll down here. My thing's not working. Oh, it's the Cramps, actually. That's who the band is. But yeah, so I'll just start reading this one. September 11th. One of the experiences that causes me much bone rattling and shaking and puppy dog trembling is beholding magicians in the midst of their job description. That is, bewitching things to the point of visible, audible enchantment. Sorcery at its root is like standing between a rocking band and a rapping one, eyes darting between the black and the white, while your body is gyrated by bass and electrified by the riffs of devil guitar. On this individual night, the witch doctor is asking for volunteers. A renegade sorcerer has been caught digging up the graveyard of this fallen city. This is obviously not to be allowed. There are rumored to be albinos buried there. So to do this is to weaken our witch readiness. This is obviously not to be allowed. I have peed on myself while raising my hand. I am not volunteering, for I am not an activist or a communard. This is contract work that, between you and me and the witch doctor, could yield good reward. If we are holding her, this sorcerer, for more than 1 month's time, you can have some of her flow, the witch doctor has been telling me. Also, I will spot you a soccer ball for your efforts. The natural juices of women, I am assured, are vital and dangerous. A bastard who is dirty once talked of wicked women putting these into stew. An enchanted stew is something I would savor. Any stew, really. We move on this sorcerer after the checkpoints have been set up in the hills. We plod towards her crypt haven with fearful courage. We destroy all stoplights, for it is rumored that the uncanny magnetism of albino bones can change their readings, and we do not want to send mixed signals. The graveyard is dark, and rebellious shadows juke our flashlights. We are focused on subduing them, but the witch doctor says, stay ready. Someone says, movement, and I am training my rifle as if it were a dragon. The witch doctor's hand pushes the barrel towards the dirt, and his other one goes to his lips. Shh. But he has only 2 hands. Fire is let loose. Hell follows with it. We are reprimanded for our twitch response. But twitch is something you cannot spell without witch, is what Nissa is arguing defensively. I'll take her word for it. The witch doctor uncrooks the curvature of his posture to slap her upside the head, then crouches over the corpse of the sorcerer who has played tag and lost against many 7.62s. Her lips are blackened. She wears checkered trousers and netted leggings. Like a SoundCloud rapper, her flow ability is in question. The game of soccer looks more beautiful than ever. And that's it.
Man, I love. Oh, sorry, Eris.
No, I mean, like
No,
a
no, Eris,
SoundCloud
go ahead.
rapper. That was amazing. Yeah, no. William, you take it.
Oh, no, I love the endings of both of these stories. Like, as you, I mean, obviously all the stuff I usually say about your work is on point here. All of the wordplay, all of the like the wonderfully like weird world that you've created here. I love, like in the first one, you describe the hostile pastel and gray terrain. Like the use of pastel and gray, like your mind immediately, like it conjures something immediately in your mind, but yet it also produces an image that's like in conflict with itself, which is so like perfect for what you're doing here. But like I said, what I really love about these two are how they end. Like on the first one, I sink into the ground and eventually skeletonized, demoted to infantry. Now, that sentence, knowing that like the antagonist here is necromancer, right? Is such a like brutal, concise and brutal, like, I don't know, like take on this entire, like, on the entire like military, the entire like military thing here, right? It's you've not only been killed, and allowed to decay, but decaying to a skeleton means you're going to be revived as a necromancer and demoted, right? Because the skeletons are like the absolute shock troops. They're not even like officers or anything, right? And it's just you get it all so concisely and beautifully in that one sentence. And on the second one, the way it goes back to the game of soccer after the guys tried to bribe the kid with the soccer ball earlier, and the whole second one is like about the tension between like the real like goofy frivolity of like the tone and like the darkness of what's actually happening. And that last sentence perfectly like captures that. I don't know. I just really like the punchlines in these two stories, basically. Yes, Mr. Bones.
Cool. Thanks, man. I just wanted to say, the infantry line. I'm glad you picked up on that one because, aside from what you said, the kid believes that he's in a cavalry regiment, and that's the whole like joke is like, because the first one is the Remember Loud and Long. That's the one about the Corb Lund song that is about real cavalry officers.
Right.
But I mean, they're actually not in a cavalry regiment. They're actually foot soldier, but they call it cavalry.
Yeah, it reminded me of your other piece where it's like I've never volunteered for anything.
Yep, that's the one that where it mentions like, well, their head is riding their shoulders, which is riding the lower body, which is riding the ground. So that's how they call it. They call it cavalry, but they're actually just child soldiers and whatever. But yeah, so I'm glad you picked up on that.
And you get back to that again in this piece when you're talking about there was, oh my God, and the way you put it was really good. I need to look up because I actually quoted it earlier. That she's in my head loitering and reconnoitering. That is such a good fucking way to put it. And it also is a reminder that like of the weird kind of cavalry situation they're occupying, right? Where they're basically the steeds of this person who's like in their heads manipulating them, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, well, thanks, man.
Man, thank you. So I don't see anyone in the chat. Did I miss someone already? Did someone offer to read here?
Hey, hey, Will.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, really quick, if I could just say one more thing.
Yeah.
So I actually have a confession to make. I really wanted to like write something like good, for once, but that I got to be honest with you guys. I don't feel good about this. I feel sick to my stomach. But that was actually just a World of Warcraft event description. And I just replaced all the dwarf names with Joe Biden. I'm really sorry, guys.
Look, we tried to write the worm thing, okay? We tried.
Okay.
We gave we gave it an honest to God try. Okay.
I wrote one good line
It was a really good
about
line.
worms.
Yeah.
That's about
I think that's actually more insidious than I expected because World of Warcraft is the most evil thing, more evil than even Republicans, I guess.
I'm sorry, guys. I just wanted to do something good, but I
Don,
can't
you're
even,
such a good
I can't even
Christian
do
boy
that
coming
right.
clean.
John,
I
John,
had to get it off my chest. I'm so sorry.
oh, you can only be honest. You know, all is forgiven.
Brandon, since you're Irish, will you read something I wrote that has the word Irish woman in it like 3 times? It's not very long, please.
Nice.
You can say no. You can say no. It's okay.
I'm not gonna lie, that makes me a little nervous.
Do it.
Do it. Peer pressure.
It's nothing bad. It's literally just a character description.
Hang on.
To what? Sorry, I have a bad habit of saying that. Just the way you've described various women has impressed me. Also, you're Irish.
Okay. Yeah, I can read this.
Yes!
All right, so this is Gravid Blossom. The ultimate infection. The one who sleeps with their sisters and underage brothers. The one who fouls up neighborhoods, outglows gangsters, and makes all of their egos feel small with just a slash of her sneer. Her family was the best of the car-bombed troops from the scum of Ireland. She was the misplaced queen of Belfast, grandmother of all the religious zealots. The shadow spider who crawls on their bodies but is never seen. The manic, frantic, potato-peeling cunt dancing on everybody's graves. The Irish woman who'd been cooked out of whiskey, vomit, and triangle bones, with a sad diet consisting of mad cow disease, red-soled shoes, and dates for elevator sex. The Irish woman with calls unanswered and phones disconnected after screwing a few young boys and being declared a pervert by the Manhattan Ladies Quilting Circle. The Irish woman who has uncomfortable eyes and useless trivia, who was involved in every non-Christian organization known to man, who knows pool halls in Paris and birds in Tangier, who sleeps atop pinball tables.
Brandon,
Thank
that was fantastic, Brandon. But I have to ask that you read it again in an exaggerated Irish accent.
Oh my gosh!
Because I know you can
I
do an
would, but I'm
exaggerated
drinking
Irish
Angry Orchard tonight, not Guinness, so I can't quite get there.
Oh, I fucking love
Give you a
Guinness.
pass. I'll give you a pass. But no, you killed it, man. Eris, you said, "Oh, this is just a character description. This is a fucking poem. What are you talking about? This is a great fucking poem."
Wow,
Like,
thanks.
half ballad, half poem, kind of. But I love you have so many like uniquely perverse turns of phrase here in these descriptions. The the potato peeling cut dancing on everybody's graves. The Irish woman who's been cooked out of whiskey, vomit, and triangle bones, with a sad diet consisting of mad cow disease.
Did I use the semicolon correct there?
And dates for elevator sex. What?
Did I use the semicolon correct there? It's bothering
Oh, let me look.
me. Okay. It's after triangle bones.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, you did.
My dog
Nailed
ate my
it.
Chicago manual style. It literally.
With the semicolon, the only thing is the two separate clauses have to be able to stand alone if you separate them, right? It basically, the semicolon kind of replaces a period, but for two clauses.
So they can't be like the
clauses-
twins in Geek Love. Okay.
There you go. No, but man, the descriptions here fucking rock and are so evocative and effective. This is a great little poem.
Yeah, this is great. I really like she was the misplaced queen of Belfast, grandmother of all the religious zealots. That's really, really good. Is this part of like a larger collection, or you mentioned it was a character description or something?
I think I was trying to make. I was like, I wonder what that person's grandma's like.
Nice.
And then I and I added the Manhattan Ladies Quilting Circle for fun.
Oh man, that fucking rocks.
All right, thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Eris. So this is
Yay.
it. Last call, guys. Anyone have anything they want to read before we shut her down for the night?
Looks like Grapes is putting something in.
Oh. Yes, you can read a poem, Grapes, or Michelle.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. All right. I have a few. I think I'm gonna read 3 or 4.
Oh, you're pretty quiet. The mic might be a little far away from your face. I can't quite hear you.
Okay, let's try here. Can you hear me better?
Yes, much
Yeah,
better.
you sound good. What is your @ on Twitter? I forgot it. Or
420 Michelle 69.
awesome.
Okay, here we go. Let's look at my notebook together. They, the maliciously machant person who at the art store twists open the paints. The customer who arrives to a mess of paint once they inspect their shopping bag. And then I have a drawing of the paint bottle, a splat.
I dig it.
This one's titled, And He Crosses My Mind. Though I may not cross his, he crosses mine and often. Yet I understand how he could not want to be with a woman like me. And there's a drawing. This one's titled, It Snowed Last Night. There were snowflakes, it was and is cold. The untouched snow I miss for being inside and catching some needed ZZZZs. It snowed last night, it was and is cold. And then I have another one. It's titled Today, Unrelatedly. I made gloves. They're in need of TLC. The older woman at work was the older woman at work today. I'm going to go floss now. Today I made gloves and the older woman at work did something I was too chicken to disclose. And I realized it today, unrelatedly. I'm in love. That might be it. Unless I come up with one of these. I don't know. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it.
I love the drawings. But first of all, of course, I love the drawings because you've seen what Misery Tourism looks like, right? Like, so I love the idea of having like art that accompanies work, right? And art, not just like collaborative art or like, but art that feels like it's one with the piece of art work and shares like the roughness and improvisation of the work, right? Like that's a big thing we try to do at Misery Tourism. And I think you really captured that here. That like, and it goes so well with your poetry because there's just a lot of your poems have this kind of like diaristic like sense to them, right? Not so much voyeuristic as actually feeling like they're incredibly concise and incredibly like artfully worded diary entries, right? And so the inclusion of the art really enhances that. And I love the labels of the paint. Oh, this person. Okay, we've got a troll in here, I think.
Those happy troll noises.
I have no idea. It was like borderline orgasmic troll. I guess
Yeah.
the trolls really enjoyed the poems too. But no, I love the way you've married the art and the poetry in those pieces. And that last piece you read, where, and I don't remember it perfectly, but the like combination of like the thing the coworker said that you're too cowardly, too cowardly to repeat, with like the confession at the end, like, I think I'm in love, like the tension and disconnect between those two thoughts is so perfect. And like that poem really fucking works. Anyway, those were great grapes. Thank you. Or
I
Michelle.
agree, like that's such an accurate thing, because like that's how you realize that like something similar happened to me. Like I was talking about someone to my bunkie in jail, and she was like, "Oh, you're in love with him." And I'm like, "What? Oh, fuck, you're right. Shit." And yeah, the disconnect and stuff is like very real. So the fact that you put that into a
Oh
poem is
yeah.
kind of amazing.
Yeah, I partially read that last one because I just wrote something that mentions things being unrelated constantly. So it's kind of like a segue for a future piece.
I like how you always write things short enough where no one else can ask what's going on right now.
Those were great, Michelle. Mr. Bones is scratching at the door of my room and screaming to go out. So unless someone has a piece they really want to read, I think we'll call it there. Obviously, I will keep the Zoom call up for a while.
I think Jesse has something.
And
Yeah.
then another J.
Oh,
Or-
Jesse, duh.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, Jesse, yeah.
Well, JMF Casey, who I don't know, wanted to read something too.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah, my bad.
Okay.
Sorry,
we
Jim.
have room for both.
Yeah.
It's, oh my God, I forget. It's John Casey, right? Am I right? John? Or am I wrong? Oh.
Are they there?
I am not. His mic is unmuted.
Blink twice if you're pooping.
Are you with us, Mr. Casey? Maybe he's having technical difficulties. Jesse, why don't you
I
read
just go.
and we'll circle back.
All right, I'm gonna read this. I kept a lot of notebooks throughout. This one's from 2013. I have a
Oh,
that was the person in question.
Nope, that was Eris. That was Eris
Oh.
saying, oh, cool.
I thought it was. I saw the. I'm sorry.
Nope.
These are. I was doing some research into what different people around the world believe, different belief systems, and I wrote down some of them, and they're kind of interesting. So I'm gonna just read some of them. This is actually part of what turned into a poem, which is in a book that's coming out. So in Mongolia, the soul is believed to wander around through the body, taking up residence in different parts of the body, depending on the day of the week. You need to consult with a witch doctor to make sure your soul isn't in your hair if you plan to cut it, because if those scissors snip at the wrong time, you could die instantly. In Japan, it's unlucky to take a picture of 3 people standing next to each other because the middle person will die before the other 2. These are like superstitions. In England, if you cut into a loaf of fresh baked bread to find an empty space inside, like a bubble, that's an omen that someone at the table will die. In Kentucky, if you transplant a young cedar tree to a different location, you are cursed to die when the lower limbs grow out to the length of your coffin. I don't know where this one is from, but it's bad luck to leave a house through a different door than the one used to come into it. I don't know where this one's from. If a pregnant woman decides to attend a funeral, she should avoid looking at the deceased. A knife as a gift from a lover means that the love will soon end. Never give a Russian woman an even number of flowers. In Iceland, it's forbidden to knit on a doorstep in late winter because it will prolong winter. In China, shaking legs while sitting at a chair is kicking all your prosperity away from you. And there's a lot of them about knives. A knife as a gift from a lover means that love will soon end. In I guess in Chinese, the gift of a knife would be interpreted as cutting off a friendship. A knife placed under a bed during childbirth will ease the pain of labor. It's bad luck to close a pocket knife unless you were the one who opened it. If two people dry their hands on the same towel, they will soon get angry at each other. And there's one of them. Researchers at the University of the West of Scotland believe that the more prominent the tubercle of a woman's upper lip, which is this tip of the upper lip, a woman with a more prominent tubercle of the upper lip is up to 12 times more likely to be capable of a vaginal orgasm. There's some of them from Arab countries, like, this is a little bit of explaining. Foster suckling relations render marriage as unlawful as blood relations. So the same way you can't marry your sister, you can't marry somebody that suckled from the same breast that you did. And that could be like someone from another family, because I guess there's communal breastfeeding, you know. Many people in South Korea believe that going to sleep with a fan in your room will kill you. And I don't know if Gigi is here under disguise, if he can verify that. He just said
I was with
this
a
one is true,
Korean.
but-
She confirmed that this is still believed in the modern era
Really?
Facts.
by old people.
I sleep with a fan on all the time, so I must be really risking death. Yeah, there's just a bunch of them. I'll stop there, but like that's I think those are kind of funny. And it's also a little bit risking like cultural appropriation or cultural colonialism, but by colonized to not make fun of other people's belief systems, but you know, point out that they're yeah. That's all I have to read right now. But I have whole notebooks full of stuff like that.
Wow.
I
Wow. no,
love that. I learned in the Japanese cult that I was in when I was young that glitter is actually a good omen. So that probably helped like a lot of husbands like not getting into trouble if they went to a strip club.
Glitter.
Glitter, yeah, like oh, it's a good omen. Like the Mahikari Buddhist religion cult thing. It's great. Yeah.
No, that was really fun. And some of them are like oddly profound too, like the Kentucky one about like when the bough of the tree grows long enough to match the length of your coffin, you'll die. Like there's, I don't know, like some of these things like may not hold actual power, but they hold a kind of like emotional power, right? No, that was fun, Jesse. Thank you.
And it
Yeah.
makes you wonder who originated them or what, you know, like the one, if your pregnant woman goes to a funeral, she should not look at the deceased. That must have been somebody's like personal superstition that then got like
Yeah.
kind of adopted by a certain culture or group, you know.
Jesse, are you a Gemini?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm a Capricorn. And I don't believe that the Capricorn is fully applicable to me because there's all this stuff about how Capricorns are like really hard workers and really ambitious and really like organized and get to
Would-
work and stuff like that. And that's totally not me. So I wonder if my sun or my moon and ascendant and all that stuff like that kind of tempers the Capricorn sign or something.
I'll look into this because Geminis love random facts. So yeah.
You know.
I do like random facts.
Tell me a random fact.
I don't have many. I don't catalog.
Bullshit, you're a
No,
Gemini.
I don't. I'm not really a
Can it
cat.
be
I
right
like
about
hearing
one
random
astrological
facts,
thing
but
about you? Just one, besides the fact that you're sad?
one fact about me?
No, just can I just be right about one astrological thing about you?
Sure, sure, yeah,
Okay, thanks.
yeah, absolutely. So anyway, JMF Casey, are you have you work? Are you here still? Do you still want to read? I see you in the chat, but I don't know if you were having technical. Oh, your mic is fucked. Oh, okay. That's fine. Well, we'll be doing this next week. If you can get your mic worked out, you can read next week then. All right. So in that case, I think we'll call it there. This has been Misery Loves Company, a weekly social. That's what I said at the fucking top. I think I say something different at the end. Anyway, this has been Misery Loves Company. We do this every fucking Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Anyone is welcome to come. Anyone's welcome to share their work. Anyone's welcome to just lurk and hang out. We tweet out the link to the Zoom meeting from our Twitter account at Misery Tourism. I think that's it. That's fuck it. We're done. Yeah, fuck it.